Hi everyone, you're scaring the white people here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it is time for a review of the new Khruangbin record, Mordechai. This is the latest full-length LP from Texas trio Khruangbin, their second album for the Dead Oceans label. It has now been a few years since I first began to hear a lot of hype bubbling around this band, with their sophomore release, Con Todo el Mundo, being a big breakout moment for them, transcending cultural barriers in the industry and the internet using this vintage and psychedelic blend of funk, soul, disco, rock, really anything they can squeeze a groove out of. In its best moments, Con Todo was body rocking and sounded like something out of a 70s film soundtrack, but in its worst moments, it's basically second-rate vibe music or vaguely groovy wallpaper with a nostalgic twist. Now, in comparison with their last LP, Mordechai does seem to feature better production, but the tracklist is similarly spotty in that we're getting a combination of songs that make me want to get out of my chair and dance, and songs that make me want to go to sleep. The only track that really engaged me on this project was the only song I enjoyed going into it, and that is Pelota, which is a super funky Latin number with sticky group vocal refrains, nimble bass line, hand claps, flavorful guitar leads too. It is not just a vibe, it is a legitimately good song that I've been finding myself going back to again and again. But everything else on this album, and I do mean everything, is just operating in various degrees of boredom and blandness. And that would be because in terms of what they have presented here, this band is just not that strong or interesting of a force instrumentally or aesthetically. The opening track, First Class, is so tedious and such a chore to listen to. Why would you kick your record off with this song unless you were trying to set expectations as low as possible? This song would basically be unlistenable if not for the super tight drumming. The bass line gets stale before 2 minutes of the song is even up. The guitar playing is sloppy as hell, like very messy and quietly and faintly mixed into the song so people won't notice, I think. Like, I get the appeal of the twangy, reverby tone of the guitar. It certainly fits within the aesthetic of the bass and the drums and the somewhat old school sound of the track, but it's not very well played, and unfortunately there are equally underwhelming songs to follow. Father Bird, Mother Bird is a moody and melodic instrumental, where once again the guitar takes the lead, but all of the fluttering, repetitive pentatonic notes all over the song just aren't really that engaging or interesting. So are the embellishments and improvisations on this track supposed to be keeping things afloat and engaging? Because they're just not. It's no John McLaughlin, I'll say that. The track One to Remember, ironically, is an utterly forgettable reggae number, which at first does kind of grab my attention because it is a change in style, it is a change in groove, sure. To start, it doesn't sound like the same vaguely psychedelic soul pap that is delivered throughout the rest of this record, but then it trails off into some of the most boring attempts I've ever heard to capture the magic of dub reggae. The delays are just so basic and quiet and barely even there, and the subtly psychedelic guitars don't really add that much flavor to the song. With the track Dearest Alfred, the sound of the guitars, bass, and drums, all of that is pretty well established at this point, but is there, like, I don't know, a benefit to mixing and placing everything in a way where it is so quiet and not really leaving much of an impression? Mind you, it's not dreamy, it's not ambient, it's not low-key to the point where it would come off super subtle or experimental, and yet it's not loud enough to demand any attention in the forefront of your mind. Basically, I'm just listening to somewhat psychedelic elevator music. Sheeta, we have an incredibly anticlimactic closer with this one. I mean, I guess at this point, if the final track were actually good, I would feel cheated in some way, like why couldn't the rest of the record be like this? Mind you, there are a few points of semi-enjoyability in the track list. The disco grooves and lead vocals on Time are quite nice, but the song does get pretty stale pretty fast, like it could have used a change-up or two along its runtime. Some bolder everything as well. There are some semi-catchy vocal refrains and curious guitar leads on the track If There Is No Question. The drums are funky as always as well, well, but once you've heard the first 2 minutes of this one, you have pretty much heard everything it has to offer outside of a very weak instrumental pickup past the midpoint. Overall, I just found this record to be really uninspired and lifeless, and I get that many people may give it a pass for being kind of chill and just like vibey, but personally, I couldn't even get that out of it. For the most part, what I felt like I was listening to was the soundtrack to a road trip I didn't really want to be on. I have to pee really bad, and I am just like desperate for the next gas station, because if I am stranded in this place, it will be like just I don't know, getting locked away into musical purgatory forever. Feeling a decent 2 strong 3 on this one. Transition, have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe, and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is another video that you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Khruangbin, forever.